you speak about fasting both of the mind and of the body?
No. Fasting is a conscious decision to, restrain perception. Most people see fasting as being limited to eating, dietary issues, abstaining and torturing yourself and so on. It's good, I've enjoyed that. But we're really talking about fasting as much more of a multi-level, multi-dimensional practice. Abstaining from things, that means resting yourself. There's emotional fasting, knowing what you shouldn't eat or consume relative to emotions. So you want to fast from negative emotions, fear emotions, doubt emotions, confusion, self-division, right? Self-conflict, duality, self-other stuff, relational emotions, unhappiness, familial emotions, occupational emotions. We have emotions and feelings about everything. We have to stop and recover our power, take our power back. Emotion then means what's using us up. We're being used up by emotions. Like too much physical activity wastes you, exhausts you. You need balance, you need restfulness. You need a sense of healing, because sometimes sleeping isn't enough. Sometimes you're even more restless when you're sleeping because of what you're doing when you're awake. And so you're burning up a lot of energy. You're not really resting when you're sleeping if you're too preoccupied with things going on that you're not resolving properly for you. In other words, if you're too worried, when you're too plagued by certain things. So you need to be putting all these things to rest. Sometimes, old school, you pray before you go to bed. You do some positive affirmations or something of that nature. You go really to old school and say, please Spirit, please be pleased to guide me in the ways of goodness, peace and love. And those are power words when we're talking about the inner life. They're very powerful. When your sincerity is there. When you're plagued by darkness, then you take it more seriously. If you're not plagued by darkness and you're not sensitive to darkness and you're just having a good time and you want more out of your life, more out of yourself, then this kind of method isn't going to work for you unless you're sincere and sympathetic to the deeper side of life, where you feel the pain of others and you feel your own pain. You feel your family pain. You feel the pain of your siblings, or you feel the pain of your mother and your father and your grandfathers and grandmothers. When you feel that pain of your cousins and those who are close to you, your loved ones, then it makes it much easier for you to put please in like that, affirmation, say please. You don't have to believe in God, you just need to make a plea to your higher self. Say, connect with it. Say, ask for some good, ask for some blessings, and make things lighter for you, or certainly better to make pleas for other peeps, right? And this is a way of bringing some more, let's say, space into your life. And so there is that. We're talking about physical karma. You do physical fasting, right? Abstain from eating foods, certainly foods that are not necessarily healthy foods, because you're going to be putting your body under all kinds of stress unnecessarily by eating things that you know and the doctors know and the health industry knows you shouldn't be eating. Whatever that is, you have to choose for yourself. And certainly not eating a lot, so you need to ask for help as an individual to get help so that you don't overeat. So you have to abstain, you have to fast from overeating. Like you have to fast from over-talking, see? Over-sexing, over-drinking, over-smoking. See? Over-living, in a sense, living beyond your means, see? Gambling, all of these things we have to look at, put limits on these things. And so a word that's used in the intelligence world is moderation. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, not too much of anything. Might be more of a middle path for most people. But we have to watch our influx of data we take in, because a lot of troubled people who come to me, and they're just watching too much stuff that has a negative effect on their consciousness. And so you have to take responsibility for that. You're the responsible one for all the problems you have beyond the point. It's what you do, what you set up, that comes back to haunt you. It's what you change and transform that comes back to serve you and lift you up and make your path much more of a graceful, smooth sort of movement from one place to another place ultimately going higher in intensity and responsibility, productivity and positivity as much as that's possible. So we need to fast. That means we need to trim back on a lot of things. Thoughts, feelings, desires. We've got to cut back on desires. Ambition, we have to cut back on some ambition. And we're talking about over-pushing yourself, over-driving yourself, where there's imbalance. You're not paying attention to what's around you. You're not paying attention to who's around you. You got to pay attention to who's around you, because that works against you if you don't. See? So we need to be treating our peeps like flowers. We need to properly, feed them, right, and grow them. See? We have to hydrate them, and pour water on them, and take good care of the peeps who are helping us in the process. See? Our children, our pets, our plants, all of these things are important. Our homes, you got to take care of your home, you got to take care of your property, you got to take care of your truck, right? Don't forget your truck. And your guitars and whatever else you have to take care of all of it. Yeah, I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but you got to take care of yourself. In that sense, you got to take care of your things, see? And that doesn't really mean taking care of your car too. Listen, you have to bless your car. Your car is not just a piece of junk out there, You got to bless it. You got to care for it like you do your dog, right? Your dog is important, right? But your car is more important. You don't drive your dog around. You want to make sure your car is working for you, right? So you got to bless your car. You got to bless everything. See? You got to bless life. You got to bless your friends, your neighbors. You got to be a positive influence in the universe. No question about that. So we have to fast from selfishness. We got to limit that a little bit. More selflessness, more heartfelt expansion, and reach out to peeps. Right? And you have to. I think we might have to say it's up to us to bless this world. It's on us to do that. The world is taking care of us, and we have to take care of the world. The earth is taking care of us. We have to take care of the earth. That's I think justice here. It's a balance. And it's highly justified too. We can see it all around us. We're benefiting from so much. We need to give back. And if you can't give back at the same level you're taking, then you want to wish, positive wish. See? Bless, wish, hope. See? Dream something good for other people. And I think that's our purpose. It's not just to be, machines, robots, and being unfeeling beings or unsympathetic beings, or compassionless, say, self-interested animals, which is not bad. I'm not saying any of it's bad, but we really want to utilize this time to be as positive as we can towards one another in this life. Give back to this life as much as we can. Okay? This is something that's a little bit deeper than traditional religions in some sense. Okay? You have to give back to the life that's living you. Not to a God you never really meet and you have to believe in, but you have to get back to the life that is living you right now, that is absolutely real. It is your body, it is your mind, it is your intelligence, it is your heart, it is your brain. See? And everything that's being created of that or being transmitted relative to that or channeled into this dimension, we have to be responsible for that. Make sure it's quality, that the quality is correct for us. See? It's called quality control. And I remember when I was a young yoga practitioner, and I had, let's say, association with different schools of thought, and they would say, oh, keep yourself a little journal, see what you did, that's good today. How many things did you do today that's good? Right? Quantify it. And then see if you can manage your life accordingly. Say, how many times did you get angry? I mean, little things like this. See? So you bring it down to a point where you can watch your anger, and you don't have to be angry. You can mind it. We're talking about a lot of subtle things that go on that we could trim back and fast, apply to the fast rule, let go of it, see how we feel. I bet a lot of the people that have come my way, men and women as single people, sometimes as couples, say abstain from sex for a while. See? Hold the seat a little bit. Hold your desire back a little bit. Okay? See what happens. Remember, it's creative power. If you don't waste it, if you don't indulge it, you might collect it, you might accumulate it. It's common sense. Right? Say a little less sex. Right? More fun, less sex. A lot of love, less sex. Right? And more balance, more healing, less sex. Not eliminate it, And not too many are that strong, see, or free to eliminate it. But yeah, less. See, less masturbation. See, build some energy. Okay? Let the energy, as the yogis say, circulate a little bit. So you have more bliss waves in your body. See, more peace, more silence in your body. See, be kind to yourself in that way. See, know what your body needs to be happy. Do what you can to accomplish that for yourself. So fasting, yes, from that which is negative and self-defeating. Thoughts, self-doubt patterns, self-imaging patterns are very important. You want to make sure you have strong self-imaging patterns. Not necessarily at the egomaniacal, super narcissistic levels. It's all about yourself and your face and your muscles and your clothing and your trip. No, something a little bit deeper than that. Dignified. Something you wouldn't, let's say, feel uncomfortable with in the presence of your ancestors, which we're a certain kind of continuation of. In terms of self-respecting, now, of course, I'm a jazz musician, so people say, well, what could be more bizarre than that? And I agree with you. All the rules are broken here. Right? That's what a jazz musician is. Man or woman who can create their own rules, who has knowledge of the rules, and you want to create them according to your need. See, recreate rules. See. And we're all here to do that as free spirit souls, for sure, but we're not all here prepared to take what comes back with some of our transgressions and some of the things we dare to do, say, without conscious calculation and awareness of the consequences of what we do. So we're usually at the dark end of the stick. We are our own undoing. So we want to do things more consciously so that what we're doing is working for us and preparing the way for us as we move forward. So whatever that means in terms of what we need to fast from or refrain from, sweets, junk food, we can give up some of that, see, and show our own people that we have some discipline because we have some self-respect. I think that's good. And we are here to master at least a little bit of it. See, we can walk with our head up instead of down in the dumps because we failed ourselves. You don't need to fail yourself. You need to appreciate yourself. You need to understand what your self is in terms of your body, what your self is in terms of your image, and feel okay about yourself. That's why I think it's important to get to a spiritual image of yourself, and not just a psychological image, not just a Hollywood image of yourself, but a spiritual image of yourself as a kind person, a good person, a brotherly, sisterly person, a helper, one of the people who are part of the solution out here, see, in terms of caring, heart care, see, and friendship. And it doesn't mean you have to be, enslaved to anything. No, you want to free yourself to offer service to your fellow people, your community, in a sense, your co-workers, right? Your workmates. Offer a little bit more to them. And I think the edge here is more in terms of wisdom, not just religious, say Christian teachings or Hindu teachings, but we're talking about universal teachings, native teachings. So, we're talking about what's true of us. We're here to master this. And just because we don't have a certain kind of access to the spiritual worlds of progression, doesn't mean you're not going to confront the spirits that are responsible for these worlds. So I'm saying to you who can hear this, say, yes, start to peel back the nonsense and start to step up to mastering some of these things. Not so you show up as a super person. No, it's you show up with some self-respect, some dignity, and a certain kind of wisdom base. You're doing the right thing for yourself. You're building your world. You're building your own universe here. And you're sharing it properly. See? And helping others do the same thing. See? In other words, liberation. Freeing yourself to free other peeps. See? And that the liberation principle is what we are born. We are born with that liberation principle. See? And I believe that too often it's thwarted. It's destroyed. It's stepped on. It's more or less somehow or other blocked, see, because it's denied in a manner of speaking. We have to acknowledge that our original impulse from birth. Birthing is liberation. Birth, liberation. See, birth first, liberation. Out and then up. See? That's how I play, out and up. That's how we should live, out and up. See? And I mean heart out and up in spirit. See? Out the heart and up in mind. See? From the earth here, out, up in mind. See? Complete circle here. See? Consciousness. So, it's not peculiar or specific to any school. We are the school. That's what we were talking about earlier. You are your own school. Your heart is what determines your religion, where your heart is. If it's in gambling, I mean, it's the religion. Go to bed, it's where your heart is, what you got to deal with. If you're into like the hobbyist with the miniature trains, right? So be it. Whatever it is, your heart's there, that's your religion. What you're doing is more your religion than what you're not doing. See? And so it could be any number of things. We have to see our religion is not particularly somebody else's idea of what the religion is. Some school or the church down the street. No, religion is your breathing and your heart, with your basic sense of pieces. There you might have your religion. What you love, that you don't suffer. I mean, so some guys would say that religion is women chasers. That's their religion, okay? That'll teach you something, right? So I'm not saying that's going to be a religious teaching you get particularly, but you learn the hard way. You're going to be making women, they're great teachers, they're great masters of many games. Right? You find out sooner or later, you know, that they're winners as much as men are winners and losers. Right? And so all of these things require a certain kind of modification, see, a certain kind of intelligent acknowledgement of what works and what doesn't work. I think the chakra system that we are more exposed to now, beginning with the physical chakra, the anal sphincter, is very useful. And to have an understanding of that we are, you know, let's say composed of many different dimensions and centers of consciousness, and that each one of these is activatable. Right? Each one is a magnetic, electromagnetic, that is going outflow and inflow. Let's say center, and they're for real. I believed that when I was younger, and then I started to experience it shortly thereafter, and I said, "This is for real." See, okay. And being pulled out of my head, those sensations, I had those sensations and seeing things above my head, and this is part of the practice, the yoga practice. You can see things, you can feel things, you start to feel in and out of the body. These are things to master, understand, and bring to peace. So you say, okay, I'm a spirit in the physical body, and so I'm okay with that. I don't want to be anywhere else, I just want to be here doing what I have to do. Because the anywhere else is already part of you. You need to access it by spiritual means. So you're not living a schizoid life, particularly. See? Not wanting to be somewhere else and not fulfilling your function here. The somewhere else is already here. So I think we're going back to a point which is to bring heaven here. If you have access to heaven, bring it here. It's where it's needed, here. Bring it down. Bring it on. Bring heaven on, see, to the peeps. Right? It's needed now. Please, everyone, bring heaven on. We're dying for it. Yeah, so it's everybody's right and responsibility to bring heaven down. See? Bring it down to everybody. See, it's not your heaven, it is heaven's heaven. Right? It's not anyone's heaven, but everyone's heaven. See? It's the higher dimension of our intelligence. See? Higher dimension of our heart functioning. See? That means compassion. Not selective, preferential, oh, I think I'm just going to love so-and-so, because even Jesus addressed that. See? Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, who's that? It's everybody, basically. And that's a very powerful, potent principle to see yourself fail at pretty easily, see, until you open your heart and understand why it's important. Why lessons of forgiveness is important on this planet now as much as any other time in the history of our evolution and visitation on here. Because we are airspace, but our spirits we're visiting. We're visiting this planet. Okay? Because when you dream, you know you're not only stuck here. When you dream is when you can see for the first time, and many, many times, that you are not of this earth only. That you're partly here, but you're also of other dimensions. You're also part of the heaven theory. See, the higher beauty of consciousness. See, the celestial consciousness. It's not a theory. See, it's our potential, and many people have glimpses of this under certain conditions. Many of us already know it's there, so it's understood. Okay. And but it's not necessarily written about properly. Particularly. That's because what we have schools, regions of the world writing about it peculiar to their region, when there is no region, ultimately. The God that everyone is pointing to, or whatever, is regionless, it's no location. You can't find it anywhere. That heaven is a state of consciousness, like your hell is a state of consciousness, low consciousness, high consciousness, heavenly. And so we have to refrain from bringing all of the divinity and intelligence down to our sort of personal level. Say, so I know this and so on. So what you know is nothing. See, but what it knows, so to speak, beyond yourself, which fuels your knowledge, which inspires your knowledge, may be more important. And so therefore we have to see the bigger picture, have a bigger mind as far as what our evolutionary possibilities are, and be open to that. See? That is to say, be open to being taught. Because once you start being taught, until you've ripened into the plateau of, let's say, wisdom, spontaneous wisdom, then you might be in trouble. You might be delaying yourself. Why delay yourself? You only have a few more minutes, a few more hours here. Why delay yourself? Learn what you can on the spot, like already. Learn it. If you know somebody knows a little bit more, get to that. Learn it. Take it on. No one says you have to sign a contract or do anything. No, don't hesitate to learn what you need to learn to do what you have to do out here, whatever it is. Yeah. This is your time. This is your lifetime. Your one and only lifetime in this particular form, in this configuration of peeps, see, in this particular time on Earth, see, which is an apparent time, and then there's no time on Earth at the same time. Earth doesn't have a time, but we're using that as a human measuring device. See, this time on Earth, right? and this time on Earth is so much like every other time on Earth. You wonder if there is any time on Earth, say, after all. See, we're still cavemen. We're still acting like barbarians and brutes. Now, what have we learned? I mean, the animals are more dignified than we are out here at this time. So we have to see that, that we've outdone them. We've outbeasted the beasts. So now what? If there's any heart left, now what? What is the next act for us? Is it more down, or is it more up? See? And so I think the responsibility is upon people who are unfolding in the wisdom works. And there are many schools that help us to have access to universal wisdom where there's more common ground, rather than as it has been, just political advantage. See? We need non-political recognition of the heart's nature, straight across the board. See, as human beings, basically, as natives of the earth, and natives of the universe. Not just our neighborhoods or our color, skin color, blind. See, so how about that? Peel this off, and we're all the same. Take the mask of the skin off, and baby, we're all the same. That blood is red, the bones are white. Right? So let's get real about this, and make ourselves better beings to live with, and see if we can get deeper along the steps that we have to take towards our, let's say, passing. No death, but passing. Right? Passing. Leave the body where it belongs, and let the mind go where it can go. Let the spirit fly where it can fly. Okay? Thank you.